Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hurley, and I'm joined today by Seamus Brady from An Cluiche to discuss this weekend's games and a bit of news topics in Gaelic games this week as well. Before we get into the podcast, a quick shout out to our sponsors at Capture Athletics. If you want brilliant gear like what Seamus is wearing right there, I see it there. He's repping it. He's repping it, man. Go and get yourself some brilliant gear at captureathletics.ie. They've some great gear for your local club, so check them out if you haven't already. So yeah, Seamus, this weekend is a hectic weekend, and even looking at the games and putting through the banners there, it's unusual to see so many games on Saturday in a usual weekend, but of course it is Patrick's Day weekend. Patrick's Day is on Sunday. They'd want to avoid the parade, so it looks like it's going to be a hectic Saturday, and then 3 games on Sunday in football, and that's about it.
Yeah, Matthew, thanks for having me on again. It's almost a case of like, I'm starting to look at the calendar thinking I might do the weekend roundup on the Saturday and then just bang out a quick video on the 3 games that take place on the Sunday, because the majority of the games are on the Saturday, and then obviously I plan on doing something myself for Patrick's Day on the Sunday. Like to anybody watching, believe it or not, me and Matthew don't sit here doing podcasts our entire life. We're busy men apart from that. Look, genuinely looking forward to the weekend now. Saturday is going to be an awesome day to be a GA fan. So many games on, and then the Sunday as well, like the Patrick's Day parade. And then there's a few games on as well. There's a few sporting events as well. There's some football matches on and everything. It's going to be a bumper weekend of sports action, no question about it. Looking forward to it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and imagine if Ireland actually beat England last weekend in the Grand Slam game, or the game before the Grand Slam game. That weekend would be absolutely hectic, to be honest.
Maybe it's Scotland a good thing they lost.
Don't mention the war, Seamus. Don't mention the war. Don't mention the war.
Yeah,
but we'll move swiftly on to the weekend Gaelic games. And there was 2 main stories this week. Obviously, there was others, but these were the main stories this week. Actually, there was another one I'm going to mention that in a bit. But the Cork LGFA retirees. So this week, you had Ciara O'Sullivan, Doireann O'Sullivan, and Roisin Phelan all stepping away from the Cork LGFA panel permanently. They are retired from intercounty football. And especially with Ciara and Doireann, like, they were absolute legendary forwards, the 2 sisters. Ciara was an all-star, obviously, last season. Doireann was the second top scorer of the whole LGFA championship. Roisin Phelan, an outstanding fullback, probably one of the most consistent players for Cork over the last few seasons. So all 3 players, Seamus, are going to be huge miss for Shane Renane's team.
It'd be massive losses. I mean, Ciara O'Sullivan and Doireann O'Sullivan, I think, were one of the last remaining links to the glory days of Eamon Ryan and Aoife Fitzgerald. Am I right? Like, I know that there's very few now left from that golden age for Cork, and Ciara and Doireann were both not only on those All-Ireland winning teams in the mid-2010s, but were key players for those teams in the mid-2010s. I mean, the 2015 final, both of them had a huge impact on that game. Ciara O'Sullivan has been captain for some finals. Like, she's led them to All-Ireland success. She's a very, very underrated footballer for Cork. I mean, even over the last few years, players like, your Amy Mackins, your Vicky Walls, your Louise Verhertigs, they do things that are incredible. So naturally you are drawn to watch that. But Ciara O'Sullivan and Doireann O'Sullivan, man, it's just pure consistency. Every single year they give you a 9 out of 10 every single week. And that's the type of footballers that teams are built on, not the ones that give you like an unbelievable performance every once in a while. It's the ones that put it in, week out. And the O'Sullivans were uber professional from the moment they came in. They were cut from the same cloth as the Rena Buckleys, as the Juliet Murphys, as the Breed Stacks. Like, they were cut from that cloth. And there's a reason why they carried on being so successful with Cork, even when players like Juliet Murphy and everything stepped away. And it was because of the O'Sullivans' influence, among other things. And yeah, they've stepped away now. It's a difficult time for Cork. I mean, under Roynane, like, they're having a bad out league, like, had some pretty bad defeats, especially to Kerry and to Waterford as well. Was probably the worst one. Waterford really took them to town, which I never thought I would see Cork getting beaten like that. And especially with Katie Quirke's injury. So it's a hammer blow for Cork, to be honest, that the O'Sullivans are gone at this stage, and Roisin Phelan as well. And yeah, but for the 3 of them, just on a personal note for them, Roisin Phelan as well, unbelievable defender, as you said, so consistent, again, so humble. Like, that's one trait that is consistent throughout all of those girls that were on that Cork Golden Era team. Like you speak to any of them, Breach Stack, Rena Buckley, Valerie Mulcahy, Breach Corkery, you speak to any of them, you very quickly realise they're so humble, and that's why they're so hardworking. And that was one of the ingredients that led to unbelievable success. And the O'Sullivans, as I said, clearly cut from that cloth. Roisin Phelan clearly cut from that cloth. So they're big misses for Cork. And but all three of them wish them nothing but the best in retirement. They owe nothing to the game. They owe nothing to themselves. They left it all out there. And for Ciara to retire after winning an All-Star, not a bad way to go out.
Not really, no. And it was a brilliant career for all of them, especially like Ciara Dern, as you mentioned, brilliant forwards in their day. Roisin Phelan was, for me, was still one of the best full-backs in the country, and for her to step away is a huge loss for Cork. And before we get on to other news stories, like even Orla Finn, Orla Farber stepping away last year, Martine O'Brien was another one, the goalkeeper, and Shane Ronayne is relatively new to the job as well in Cork. This is a difficult time for them, as you mentioned. And do you see it going backwards for Cork in the next few years? And especially with Katie Quirke's injury as well. She'll be out for another 10 weeks, I was hearing from reports anyway. So it doesn't look good for Cork at the moment.
No, it doesn't. And apart from that, you have even the likes of Erica O'Shea, who went to Australia, and it didn't seem to be a nice departure. Just watching, it didn't seem to be like, it seemed like Ronayne was really annoyed to lose her to Australia. But that's a wider LGFA problem. There's 36 girls that have gone to Australia. It's a trend. It's something that you have to just get on with. And the reality is, Ronayne does seem like a manager who demands very serious standards. He wants all in. And I think Cork, they just look like they definitely don't have their best 15 players out on that pitch. Erica O'Shea would walk into that team. If the O'Sullivans turned around now and said that they weren't retiring, they'd walk back into the starting 15. Like, they're not with their best players. Orla Farmer as well, in my opinion, probably had another couple of years in it. Orla Finn, I would say the same. Like, there's players there that they could have got back in. They haven't, and it's mental to watch. But Cork actually now look like they're flirting with potential relegation now from Division 1, which is something that was akin to seeing Dublin go down in 2022. It's something that you never thought you'd see, but it could happen. And I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't, because of the dynasty and because of the legacy that they have. But if they don't turn it around real quick, they are going down.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate time really for Cork, and you don't see how they'll turn this around. Even the game against Galway, they won that game, and it was basically Katie Quirke against Galway. So
scored everything.
Yeah. So it's a worrying time. It really is a worrying time for Cork, and hopefully, for my sake anyway, and many others' sake, because like Cork is a legendary county. It really is an LGFA, and hopefully they will recover sooner rather than later. The story that I was forgot about completely until the podcast recording, but I just added in just in time, is the NFL call-up. So it was reported today that Rory Beggan and Charlie Smith from Down both got called up to the NFL. They got called up by an agent, and this agent in particular, I'm trying to get the name of the agent now, but they own a lot of NFL players, a lot of famous NFL names, which is absolutely brilliant to see. And Rory Beggan, obviously brilliant player for Monaghan down through the years. Charlie Smith, brilliant player for Down at under 20 level. So like, they'll be huge misses to the GA, but at the same time, it's a huge opportunity for the both of them, and we wish them all the best of luck, of course. And yeah, it's a brilliant opportunity, as I mentioned, for both the Monaghan goalkeeper and the Down goalkeeper. So yeah, I'm just getting the agent's name now. It's Paul Sheehy. So he owns Pro Star Sport. The agency also manages big names such as Alex Singleton and Cairo Santos from the NFL as well. So like, for Rory Beggan and for Charlie Smith, both to get called up by this agent who's obviously well around the block at this stage, it's massive for the GA many times, really.
Yeah, and this could be one of those moments in time. I feel like we're living through a moment in time. We're living through an era with Rory Beggan where there's going to be a documentary made about it in 5-10 years. Like 100% there's going to be a doc made about it. and it'll probably be TG Carr that make it. TG Carr are just, pound for pound the best in the business. I like Began is just absolutely spectacular. Like, his kicking is unbelievable. Charlie Smith is brilliant too. I didn't really, particularly with Began, I didn't have a doubt that he would make it, that he'd be good enough to make it. His kicking is probably the best I've seen off the ground. Like, if you're saying a free kick to save your life, Began would be right up there for me to take it. Like, fella's been unbelievable ever since he burst onto the scene. And he could be one of those ones that paves the way. Like, you really look at it. I mentioned there earlier when we were talking about the LGFA players in the AFLW. Cora Staunton went over in 2020. Sorry, I think it was 2019 or 2020 she went over. But anyway, the first year she went over, she was the first player there and the only Irish girl there. And it started off rocky. She managed to get her feet under the table and then went on to be an absolute icon over there in the AFLW. And now there's 36 girls gone over because they all saw the path that was there for them. And when Breed Stack had success, and then more people started going, like Eilish Considine, Yvonne Bonner, Katie Heron, and we're into the new era now where we have Sinead Goldrick, the Mackins, like Kate Kenny's gone now, Blaheen Bogue, they're the new signings that they're gone this year. It's an unbelievable level of top tier players that are gone to Australia that honestly should be kind of worrying the LGFA to some extent. The amount of players that are leaving, and what's it going to be in 10 years? Is it going to be 50 players, 60 players? You can't afford to keep losing that many players. But that's another debate. It's fantastic for them individually. It's a hell of an opportunity, and I wouldn't in any way try and steer someone away from going for it. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. Same thing with Rory Beggan with the NFL. Same thing with Mark Jackson. Same thing with Charlie Smith. It's an unbelievable opportunity, and he could be a real pioneer here. We could look at GA goalkeepers growing up and thinking, I'm going to go to the NFL. And now there's a pathway for them to get to the NFL.
Exactly, and Roy Beggan is an absolute stalwart in Gaelic games, and we wish him all the best. There's no news on Mark Jackson from Wicklow about the agent or whatsoever. I don't know, has he been rejected or whatever, but even to go over there and get that experience is absolutely massive for them players. And we have to move on to games, but there's one big story that broke, and you think this is a soccer podcast, look at this. It's the Europa League and Croke Park. No, the situation here in this is the Europa League final this year is going to be held at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. In the Europa League at the moment, you have Liverpool in the last 16. They're probably going to get through. They beat Sparta Prague 5-0 in the first leg. Also in the competition, you have the likes of Brighton and Hove Albion, West Ham, Bayer Leverkusen, and Rangers. This is the big name as well. Now, the plans, why does the GA come into this and Croke Park? Well, Sky Sports reported, along with any other British outlet, that the Aviva Stadium might be too small to hold fans in the ground, such as Liverpool, which is absolutely a massive supported club. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen are as well. So are Rangers in Scotland. The Aviva Stadium holds around 51,000, 52,000. Croke Park holds, as well documented, 82,500. The UEFA have planned, this isn't confirmed, but planned to have a fan zone for these fans, for Liverpool fans, potentially for Bayer Leverkusen, for Rangers, or whoever makes the final. Now, when I was reading this, Seamus, and they mentioned Liverpool, I was thinking, okay, no problem. No problem. There's a lot of Liverpool fans in Ireland. That's just the way society is. But when I delved into the report more and looked at Sky Sports News, that report by Sky Sports News itself, and they mentioned Rangers in the conversation, that got me worried. And the reason it got me worried, because we know the history between Rangers and Celtic and all that. And for Rangers fans to congregate in a stadium that is steeped in Gaelic Games history, I don't know, it sounds a bit risky, but what are your thoughts on the whole thing, first of all, to have potentially a fan zone in Croke Park in conjunction with the game on in the Aviva Stadium?
I think it's a stupid idea. I just think, I don't UEFA have no say or control over Croke Park, so I don't know why they think this is a good idea. If you're gonna fly to, I know you can fly to a country and soak up the atmosphere and everything like that, but for me, for example, I don't understand why they wouldn't just set the fan zone up at Ibrox or set the fan zone up at Anfield or something like that. Why does it need to be in Ireland that you do that? Me personally, look, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's one of those that gets thrown out and then it doesn't happen. If Croke Park has already been pulled out of the World Cup bid, then I don't see how. And bear in mind, the World Cup bid is in 2020, what, 2030, 2028?
I think
Oh, the
the
Euro
Euros in
bid, sorry,
20.
the Euro. If it's already been pulled out and we still have 4 years to go, I don't see how you can tell me that in 2 months they're going to convince them to set up a fan zone during the middle of championship season, by the way. Like May, like the championship has kicked off. There'll be Leinster championship games on in Croke Park. I don't think we're going to want a football fan zone in the middle of our calendar that we have to plan for a sporting organisation that the GA has nothing to do with. Like Croke Park is the sport for Gaelic games. The Aviva Stadium is the sport for football and rugby. That's just something that we've always lived by. On both sides, by the way. Like, yeah, Croke Park is bigger, but I've never really got this sense that Irish football fans want to leave the Aviva Stadium and go to Croke Park. I've never really got that. Same thing with the rugby. Like, they like the Aviva Stadium. Look, it's something that I don't think it's going to happen. I don't necessarily think it's the greatest idea I've ever heard either, setting up a fan zone in a stadium that's bigger, because, again, just point out what are the positives here. What are the actual rewards? What's to gain from doing this? I don't see a lot to gain. Money, maybe money. But
money, Liverpool fans, I suppose, because Liverpool is well supported in Ireland at the moment. Like, there's a lot of Liverpool fans on this island that own it. Like, for example, Jonathan Morley and Paddy Murphy own the 1892 podcast that has just started, by the way, and they're both based in Ireland. Paddy Murphy's in Meath and Jonathan Morley in Mayo. They're two huge Liverpool fans, and there's obviously Liverpool fans across the islands as well. I think that's the only positive. The negative is when you bring, let's just say, Bayer Leverkusen, well, not necessarily Bayer Leverkusen, but Rangers in particular, into the conversation.
Yeah, look, that's tapping into something that's a lot deeper than football, and that's why I'm saying UEFA. I think UEFA aren't fully understanding how GAA people would feel about that, and that's why I'm just saying, man, like, look, personally, I don't think it's a great idea. I don't think that there's much to gain other than money. But, like, money makes the world go around. So we'll see. Personally, I wouldn't want it to happen. I don't think it's a good idea. That's my first instant reaction. But I don't think it will happen.
Money talks, isn't it? We'll have to see how it actually transpires in the next few weeks. But
do you think it will happen?
Space.
I
think, honestly, I think it will depend on the Thursday's results. I think if Benfica go ahead and beat Rangers on Thursday night, I think they'll be all road ready for this. Because Liverpool look very good to reach the Europa League final at the moment.
You're saying if Benfica beat Rangers?
I think so, yeah. I think they'll go in for a stronger bid then, honestly, because of the history and all that. But I think.
But again, man, that's another stadium then that they have to set up to keep the fans away from each other, because there is hooligan culture in European football. Irish football included, by the way. Irish football fans batter each other. Like, there's hooligan culture in football across the board. The GAA doesn't deal with that. Like, you think it, like, someone getting punched on Hill 16 was bad? Like, you're going to have to put in structures into Croke Park that have never been there before, by the way. The whole area around Drumcondra is not set up to stop people from getting to each other. It's set up to merge people together. Yeah. And, like, I don't think it's a good idea. I just don't think it's a safe idea. For the fans that attend, for the people that live around the area, I don't think it's a safe idea.
One thing I was going to point out as well, and what needs to be taken into consideration for a Liverpool standpoint, this could be, well, it probably will be once if Liverpool reach the final, of course, it will be Jurgen Klopp's last game as Liverpool manager. And that will entice more fans to come in as well. So I can see why they'd want Croke Park as a type of fan zone, if you get what I'm saying. But I don't know.
Well, you see, I wouldn't necessarily mind with like, you wouldn't mind the atmosphere in town and everything, because Liverpool is a city in England that has a seriously strong Irish connection. It does. It has a seriously strong Irish connection. It's just the potential of fights between the football fans is something that Croke Park has never seen before. It has never seen hooligan culture. It has never seen it. Like, Dublin chanting on Hill 16 is the closest that we have to an organised set of fans chanting in Croke Park. It's not something that our game sees much of. And I just feel like if you're going to do this, you need a proper task force that is going to be around the clock dedicated to how this is going to work. What streets one set of fans is going to go down and what streets the other set of fans are going to go down. How you're going to keep them apart, not only in Croke Park, but in town. Like, if they're in Dublin city centre together, like, could be all hell breaking loose around O'Connell Street and everything like that. And I don't think it will be apocalyptic. I don't think it will be the end of the world. But I think emotions will be running high with it being Klopp's last game, which could lead to pure elation or pure devastation depending on the result. And I just think that it's a snap decision that needs a lot of time to consider. It's basically like deciding to host the World Cup final in a month. The fans are going to be there. Do you know what I mean? The least thing that you need to worry about when organising the World Cup final is how the 11 players on the pitch are going to behave, or the 22 players on the pitch are going to behave. It's the 82,000 fans in the stadium that you need to be worried about.
One point I need to bring up as well, and you make a very good point about how the World Cup final within a month, and it reminded me of something. The Champions League final in 2022 between Liverpool coincidentally and Real Madrid. It was set to be held in St. Petersburg, but obviously there was the war with Russia and Ukraine, so it couldn't be held there, the Champions League final. So it went to Paris, and they had 2 months to prepare for it. Look what happened in Paris. It was terrible events that happened that night, because the game started late. There was tear gas with fans before the game even started as well. So I can see your point there. There could be dangers there.
There could be. Look, it's something that I honestly don't know enough about. It's something that I heard about yesterday. Like, I genuinely, I seen an Instagram post of it from RT Sports, and honestly, it looked like something that would be in Waterford Whispers News. It just looks like, well, that's not real, is it? Oh, it's real. Okay. Wow. It's like if you heard that they were going to play a Gaelic football match in Ibrox. It just doesn't sound like something that would happen. And I'm not for 1 second poking. I'm just saying that the Rangers Celtic divide is so intense that like certain areas don't wear green and certain areas don't wear blue. Like, it's at that level in Scotland. Like, Gordon Strachan was saying, no, I think it was a player, Gordon Strachan was saying that, I think, that he had a blue car when he joined Celtic, and he was told, like, no, you shouldn't have a blue car. Like, it's like that the rivalry is so intense and it goes back centuries that personally I think it's as I said, the way I'd sum it up is it's a snap decision to hold something really quickly that I don't think we're ready for. We don't have the accommodation as well. Like, let's be real. We don't have enough hotels. We don't have enough places to house people for one night. We don't. Like, look at the prices, man, for St. Patrick's Day. Like, you're literally spending a year's salary to stay a night in Ireland around the St. Patrick's Day weekend. And what, you're gonna host not even the 50,000 that are at the Aviva Stadium. You're gonna have 82,000 more. Are you out of your mind? It's not safe. okay, fair enough if, you know, the majority of the fans are going to be Irish fans, so that they're already in the country and they're already have somewhere to stay for the night. That's fine. But I don't know. I just think, and again, I just do think it's a stupid idea to do something that requires so much preparation and you want to do it in so little time. Because across the board, tough. In the Premier League, if you don't get a ticket for a game, tough. You can get one. Why are we all of a sudden being like, oh, it's fine, we'll just give you our other stadium for the weekend when we have our own championships running? I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's a safe idea, as I said, to do something that requires so much preparation in so little time. I think if you try do it in such a short space of time, you will miss things. There will be bad decisions made. There will be corners cut because you have so little time to organize this thing. But then again, I don't see what's to gain here. And I do see the issues. I see that we in this country have not dealt with football fan violence in a really long time. Like a really long time. So I don't know if we're ready for it, which is why I'm questioning why are we signing up to it. And the honest answer is I don't think this is going to happen. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but if you say, right, Jay, pick one, is it going to happen or is it not going to happen? I'm saying it won't happen.
We'll have to see in the next few weeks. And you mentioned there there hasn't been violence in a long time. I think it was 1995 when the English fans actually came over to Lansdowne Road and the game was abandoned that time, and that was in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, that was a long, long time ago, of course. So yeah, we'll move on to the Gaelic games action this weekend. We'll start with the football, and we'll start off with an Ulster derby between Tyrone and Monaghan live on TG Car at 7:30 on Saturday evening. And I will say this, Seamus, this is a relegation four-pointer. I think if Tyrone lose this, they're playing Dublin the next week, then it's going to be difficult to get a result in Grove Park. If Monaghan lose this, they're almost certainly done.
Yeah, I think this is an absolutely huge clash between these two teams. Tyrone have had a weird league. They've had a couple of performances where I've been impressed by them. None more so than the victory over Mayo. The Mayo one was one where I was like, okay, that's a good win. The Galway game was one where I thought, oh, Jesus, lads, you really left that behind you. And the Derry performance as well. I was very disappointed in Tyrone at the Derry game because I really thought, like, if there's one game that can wake these boys up, it's the Derry game. And they were flat that day and they kind of let Derry coast to a victory, which I really wasn't expecting. I thought that would be fireworks, that game, but it wasn't. This game, on the other hand, against Monaghan, it's against the Monaghan side that usually spring a late survival push. And yeah, like the maddest thing is I looked at the Roscommon game and thought, this is probably where Monaghan are going to pick up a vital win. They got slapped up. Then I looked at the Galway game where they had Galway at home and I thought, okay, they'll have got slapped up by Roscommon. And now they're going to turn it around and they're going to, save themselves by starting off by winning the Galway game and then the Tyrone game and staying up. And then Galway beat them. So, I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant to pick Monaghan. I think Tyrone have shown me more than Monaghan have. Monaghan had a great day out the first day against Dublin. Like a truly brilliant performance. O'Hanlon was electric that night. And they got the win in Croke Park, deservedly so. But since then, they've been useless. Like, since then, they've been really, really flat. And they haven't even got beaten. They've got beaten out the gate. They got battered by Kerry, battered by Derry, battered by Roscommon, and then lost to Galway at home. That's not the form of a team that is going to stay up. Now, I take that back. I take that back. Useless was way too harsh. They have been ravaged with injuries and players being missing. If you take away Began, if you take away McManus, if you take away Darren Hughes, Kieran Hughes retiring, that's too many players gone to not notice a difference. And Monaghan have felt the pinch, as any county would. But my honest thing is that I just feel like, just like a cat with 9 lives, I feel like they ran out of those 9 lives. I think that Tyrone are going to beat them this weekend, and I think that will be the end of it. I think Tyrone are going to win and stay up in the process. But I think Tyrone win this one.
Interesting prediction. Yeah, like you'd hate to back against Monaghan because of the way they've survived each and every time. But I'm going to back Tyrone as well to win the game. And Tyrone have to produce. They have to put in a 70-minute performance to win this game. There's no doubts about it. They haven't done so in previous games. Even the games they won against Mayo, they were very, very flat in the first half. They performed well in the second half, to be fair to them. Kerry, they were good enough in the first half, flat enough in the second half. So it's about consistency with Tyrone in many ways. I am predicting Tyrone to win the game, but is it crucial for them to start off like a house on fire if they are to beat this Monaghan side?
It is important. It's important that Tyrone get the first kick in. It's important that Tyrone get the good start. But then again, I was going to say that Monaghan wouldn't really respond if Tyrone did. But Dublin got a fantastic start against Monaghan in Croke Park. They got the goal from Costello fairly instantly. And Monaghan still fought back and got the win. So it just depends on where Monaghan's state of mind is at. If they kind of are looking at it and thinking, yeah, I think this is the one, lads. I think we're going down this time. Well, then Tyrone do need to start fast and make Monaghan doubt whether they're going to win this game again, because Monaghan have lost heavy in 3 of their last 4 games. And even the Galway game was a relatively comfortable victory for Galway. So Tyrone need to start fast and make Monaghan lose any hope of picking up points in this one. The first 15 minutes, 20 minutes could be crucial, because if Tyrone are 5 points clear at any stage, I would pick Tyrone to finish it out. But I'd be nervous to pick against Monaghan, man. If Monaghan win this one and then win the next one, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could stay up again. So I'm cautiously picking Tyrone.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm going to go for Tyrone win in that game, and that should see them safe. Another thing that are safe, you would say, in the league is Galway. They're on 5 points at the moment. They welcome Dublin to Pearse Stadium at 3:15 live on RT2 on Saturday. Like, Dublin are absolutely steamrolling their Liverpool at the moment. They look really, really good on form. They beat Derry and Kerry quite comprehensively in their last 2 games. Galway, to be fair to them, without Walsh and without Comer, were very good against Monaghan. Rory Cunningham scoring 1-3 in that game. Like, Galway have improved, but you can't see anything past the Dublin win this weekend, can't you?
I'd be confident going into this one, but Galway are always a threat, especially in Pearse Stadium. It's not going to be an easy game. I mean, the weather there, we all know, like the weather there, it's like you're in an absolute blizzard most of the time. So the game will not be an easy one. Dublin will have to bring their A game, but I do think that we can go to the West this time and leave with a win. We had a bad experience there last time against Mayo over in the West. Like, we lost to them in McHale Park, but it was a game that actually, we did okay in. I don't think there's been any game that I've watched Dublin so far this year and thought we played awful. Like the Monaghan game, we made some bad mistakes. The Mayo game, look, those games happen in the league. And since then, we've been great. So I'm confident that we can go away to Galway and get a win, especially if Galway feel like they're safe. They might, and they definitely won't have their full team out. I'd be surprised if Comer or Walsh feature in this game, because they haven't featured in other games where Galway have been desperate to win, desperate to get those points. Like, I would have expected them to feature against Monaghan. I would have expected them to feature at home against Derry, but they held them back. So I'd be surprised if they spring them in this game. But you never know. The closer it gets to championship, maybe they want to kick Walsh and Comer into action before the championship comes around. I think maybe we could see a substitute appearance or something from them. But yeah, I expect a Dublin win by about 3 or 4 points.
Yeah, I think Dublin should win this game. Probably not easy as many expect, because Galway have improved, turned the corner a small bit.
It won't be easy. It's not going to be a Kerry situation in the league where it finished 3-18 to 1-14. It's not going to be that, because Dublin had a bit of spite towards Kerry because of the rivalry between the two counties and because of the chat about how Kerry were going to take their throne this year. I think Dublin wanted to make a statement in that game, and that's why Dublin kept the foot down on the pedal. But I could see Dublin doing that thing where they hit hard and they hit fast in the first half and third quarter, and then take their foot off the gas in the final quarter and win by 5. A managed victory is what I'd expect.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Dublin win as well. But as Seamus said right there, it won't be easy. This is probably a league final 4-pointer in many ways. Mayo against Derry on Sunday, 3:45 live on TG Car. Like Derry losing their first game the last time out against Dublin. I don't know. Like it's it's a tough game to predict in many ways, isn't it, Seamus? Because you don't know what team Derry are going to put out. Are they going to put out Conor Glass? Are they going to put out Emmett Bradley in midfield alongside Brendan Rodgers? Are they going to put out Chrissy McCaig? Are they going to put Ryan Scully into goal instead of Oren Lynch? We don't know. So, like, if they play a second team, Mayo could take them. But if they play their full throttle of a team, Derry most likely would win the game. So what do you think they'll actually do in this? Do you think they'll actually play Conor Glass and all them in this game, or will they rest them again?
My instinct says that they'll play them, because that's kind of what Mickey has done any time that you would expect him to rest the player. He seems to pick him. And then on the other hand, it's very hard to know as well what Mayo are coming with. It's always hard to know what Mayo are coming with in terms of not the players on the pitch, but in terms of up here in the grey. What Mayo is turning up? Is it going to be, are we going to get the uber determined fight to the death Mayo, or are we going to get, shoot themselves in the foot Mayo? Like, so we don't know which version of Mayo is going to turn up. Mayo 2017 is the year that sums it up for me the most. Get knocked out of Connacht, have life or death with, at the time, what was a bang average Derry team, Clare and Cork. And Cork at that time were not great as well, even compared to the team now. And Mayo got brought to extra time by, I think, extra time by Cork, wasn't it? And then extra time by Derry as well. Scrape by, get to the semi-final, bang, beat Kerry, and then take Dublin, the best team I've ever seen Dublin put out, take that team to an inch of its life, and should have won, and would have won if Donald Vaughan didn't get sent off. So that sums up what that era of Mayo was like, that they would play almost to the level of the team that they were playing against. If they were playing against a Dublin or a Kerry, that they would step their level up to meet them. But then if they were playing against a Division 3 team, they'd make hard work of it and they wouldn't put them away early doors. They'd make it difficult for themselves. That's, although they did put a fair few beatings on Leitrim and Sligo in the Connacht Championship down through that time as well. But they did have slip-ups in them. But then they could always mix it with the big boys. And that's the point that I'm making, is that Derry now are one of the big boys and they're being absolutely hyped up like I haven't seen a team hyped up in a long time. And Mayo can still mix it with them. I have no doubt in my mind about that. Mayo can definitely win this game, even if Derry have their full team out. Mayo just have this ability to up their level, to go toe-to-toe with every team in the country, no matter how good Kerry are, no matter how good Dublin are, no matter how good, Galway, Roscommon, Tyrone, no matter how good any of those teams are, from the 2000s to now, Mayo have always had it in them to up their level, to mix it with them. And I think Derry are an extension of that. I think Derry will find it quite hard going away to Mayo to face them. I think Mayo will be absolutely pumped and ready to go. The more I look at this, I think it's got a draw written all over it. I just think Mayo are going to hold them.
Interesting. It's such a tough prediction to make, isn't it? Because again, you don't know what team they're going to put out, and you don't know what way Mayo are going to play. Even in this league campaign, they did well against Dublin, they did well against Roscommon, they were flat against Tyrone, really flat. And that, like, it is very, very hard to predict Mayo at the best of times. So it's a tough one. It really is. I'm going to slightly edge it with Derry, but it will be a tight one to call. It really will be. And definitely a game to watch on Sunday. Also on Sunday, and this, to be honest, I know it's in the hide, but I think this might be a foregone conclusion. Look at the form of these two sides. Roscommon against Kerry on Sunday at 1:45 at TG Car. Davy Burke coming out in the media, slating training sessions and players and fitness and all that isn't helping with Roscommon at the moment. Kerry had a good win against Tyrone the last time out. They look hungry after a demoralising defeat in many ways to Dublin, but look, you'd have to expect Kerry to come out with the 2 points here.
Yeah, I see nothing other than a Kerry victory in this game. What exactly were Burke's comments? Were there new ones?
I think he said something after the Mayo game that basically his players weren't good enough, and like it's just
Yeah, I
frustrating.
don't know. That gives off an air of like, well, it's not my fault. Like, do you know what I mean? That just doesn't seem like you're all in it together. That's not great for us, Common. Look, the reality is the last game they had in the Hyde, they were awesome. They really put Monaghan to the sword that day. They still have, some of the best footballers in the country. I know Ben O'Carroll, Brian Stack, Enda Smith. Like, they have the potential to cause Kerry real problems. But Kerry, they've really got to kick up the backside from the Dublin game. And like a good victory in response to that against Tyrone, where they really showed a bit of fight in that game, literally. And just note to David Clifford, no judo flips. You've got a bit of heat on you this week now because people noticed that you threw Con Kilpatrick on the ground and didn't get a black card for it, even though, I mean, it's a stonewall black card, if we're being honest. But in this game, I feel like Clifford will get Brian Stack or someone like that on him, and it'll be interesting to see how Stack does on him. This game will be really interesting. But yeah, I agree with you. I see nothing but a Kerry win.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, he was very bullish in his post match interviews, wasn't he, David Burke? And like the interview, even after the Dublin game, it was a bit strange, really, from David Burke in many ways in the last two games. But then again, you have to expect Kerry to go on and win this game, and it would put Roscommon and Monaghan, look at our predictions, in massive trouble to go down. And I'm trying to calculate in my head now. Monaghan will be on 2 points, Roscommon will be on 3, Tyrone will be on 6, Mayo, Kerry are both over 6. So, judging by my calculations, by our predictions, Roscommon, well, Galway are still 2 points off Roscommon, so there is a hope. Monaghan will be already gone. But you'd expect Roscommon to join them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think that's the two that will go down. I think Monaghan will go down bottom, which means that in terms of the bottom four, my prediction will be wrong about Monaghan and Tyrone. You swap them around. I think I've got it right, which I would have probably taken at the start about my predictions. I definitely felt nervous when I predicted Dublin to win the league, and then the Monaghan game happened. But definitely felt nervous about that. But no, it's aging okay. I do think Roscommon and Monaghan are the two to go down. I think that they're the only two teams. Well, actually, funnily enough, Kerry, you could lump them in as well. But I mean, that was a once-off. They're the only two teams that have been fighting relegation every year that they have been up. They've never been up the other end of the table, pushing for the league title. So when you are like that, it is only a matter of time before you have a season where you don't get lucky and you don't stay up.
Yeah, and it looks like Monaghan's kind of 9 lives have run out, as you mentioned there, and it's just sad to see. And it's quite ironic, isn't it? Because you predicted they'd stay up this year, I predicted it, Aaron predicted it, and the 1 year that happens, they go down. It's
Yeah.
it's bad luck.
Maybe they just don't like being told what to do. Go down now, we're staying up. Stay up now, we're going down. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Look, the reality is as well, I feel like it's not the be all and end all, man. Like we went through this like from 2020 to 2024. There's been a finalist that has either got relegated to Division 2 or was playing in Division 2. So,
yeah,
and two of the All Ireland semi finalists last year came from Division 2. So
yeah.
that's not a coincidence. Like it's not the be all and end all. And the gap between the top half of Division 2 and Division 1 is minimal.
Yeah, exactly. And even I have the table out in front of me. So our predictions were you're going for a Derry Mayo draw, so we'll say that in our predictions. The three others we agreed. So Derry will be on 9 points, Dublin will be on 8, Kerry will be on 8, Mayo will be on 7, Tyrone will be on 6, Galway on 5, Roscommon 3, Monaghan 2. So Monaghan will be relegated this weekend according to our predictions. And Monaghan and Roscommon are on -4 points difference at the moment. Galway are -5. You expect it still to be tight come the end of the weekend, so it'll be between them two. to go down. Moving on to Division 2, and we'll move on to another relegation four-pointer. First off, we probably wouldn't have talked about this in many other weekends, but this is such a crucial game considering Cork have won 2 games in a row. It is Louth against Fermanagh on Saturday at 2 p.m. in RD, and Louth are on 2 points, Fermanagh are on 3 points, and Kildare on 0. You would imagine they're gone. They're simply gone. So, and with Cork playing Meath and potentially an Armagh team over the hills, you would expect whoever loses this is in massive danger.
Yeah, no, whoever loses this is standing perilously close to the drop. I mean, it's in RD as well now. Like, that's why I do worry for Fermanagh in this game, because Louth are very, very hard to beat in RD across the board. Like Cork, Derry, Derry, Cork, Cavan. All these teams have found it extremely difficult in RD. Fermanagh are going there, and like the home comforts that did help in beating Kildare are no longer there. And I just had this feeling when it happened. I had this feeling that when Cork got that last minute goal, while I also went, that's massive for Cork, I also went, that's a massively, massively catastrophic moment for Fermanagh that goal went in. Because I think if they'd won that, they'd be on 5 points. They'd be somewhat itching towards safety. I think that's the turning point and why they go down. I think Louth are going to beat them in RD. I think Louth's very, very strong in RD, and like they've carried on that mentality of why were they so successful under Mickey Hart. Well, they've carried that on and shown it wasn't all Mickey Hart, it was the players as well, and they've carried it on under Ger Brennan in his first year. I thought Louth were going down. I predicted them to go down with Fermanagh. I thought Kildare would be better than the absolute shambles that they have been. But I think Fermanagh will probably go down with them. I think Louth will win.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Louth win as well, especially if the game's on RD. It's going to be a very, very tough pace for Fermanagh to get a result. And move on to another team, and well, to be honest, they're relegation, not bother, but doom, Kildare. They're net watch Cullen Park this weekend against Donegal on Saturday at 5 p.m. And after the Cork defeat, they played well in the first half, lost out in the second half. Cork had a surge. Kildare dropped off a small bit. They're playing a team that are on 9 points out of a possible 10 in Division 2. Doesn't look good for the Lily Whites here.
Complete different trajectories, man. Kildare have firmly turned the wheel around the other way, and they are just heading straight off a cliff. Actually, they've gone off the cliff. They're on their way down. Like, Donegal are scaling the mountain under McGuinness. There's no question about it. He has done everything that we expected him to do, and it's important to remember that he's come back in and just Donegal have turned it around. All of a sudden the confidence is back. All of a sudden Ryan McHugh's back in like he never left. They're cohesive, they're organized, they're well drilled, they're moving together, they're bringing in the new systems that McGuinness has brought in. They're pressing high up and boldly at times, then they're sitting back in defensive as well at other times. Like, they're able to mix it and do it all. They're two teams on completely different trajectories. And yeah, I see nothing but a Donegal victory. I think Kildare, this could be the type of game where Kildare actually do put it up to Donegal for about 20 minutes, but then I think Donegal take over and win.
Yeah, it's a typical one with Kildare, isn't it? Like, they do have the players, the effort I've seen in Parky Heath was there. It's just things don't work in certain moments for Kildare, and it's just a hard slump to get out of. And
that's it.
I don't know when. Yeah. I don't know when it's going to click for them, because when you look at the Leinster Championship, actually they've Louth and Westmeath all of the same side of the draw, so maybe it will click then, but we'll have to see how it transpires for Kildare. We mentioned Cork there on 4 points after 2 wins in a row. It was a good win, 2 wins in a row for Cork, but they aren't out of the woods just yet. They play against Meath in Navan this weekend at 2 o'clock on Saturday, and I am going to this game in Navan as well. And while I'm on this, shameless plug, but I was on the We Are Me podcast with Davy Rispin during the week. Check that out if you haven't already. It was a good chat between myself and Davy. Davy, obviously a staunch Meath supporter and Meath journalist. Check that podcast if you haven't already. We discussed the game in depth, tactics, and the rivalry between the two sides in the 80s and the 90s, and can it be revolutionaries in the next few seasons or so. But moving on to this game, for your view, Seamus, Davey was actually saying to me that Meath, they're up already because they're safe for relegation. There's no doubt about it, and they're in the Sam Maguire already because of winning the Halton Cup. And promotion is a bit of a stretch for them. They're 3 points off Donegal and Armagh, so I don't think it's going to happen this year. So there could be an argument that Meath actually lacks off a bit, or maybe the pressure will be just off them. Cork, they need one more win to stay up, the magical 6 points. So what way do you see this going? It's kind of a weird game to go into this one.
Yeah, you're right. It's difficult to call this one. It's certainly one that, I don't think Meath will necessarily fully take their foot off the pedal because of the rivalry that they do have with Cork, and it still does exist up here in the mines. Like, if you grew up as a Meath or a Cork footballer, you know about that rivalry. You know about that rivalry between the two counties. So I don't think that Meath would necessarily want to help Cork out by letting them pick up a couple of points and staying up. I think Meath would want to put them down, as with any rivalry. But I think Cork win this game. I think Cork need this game more. I think Cork have shown fight in every game that they've played in. You could maybe say, like, without the Donegal game, but in every other game, I haven't walked away thinking Cork are screwed. They've had bad performances, but they've been nowhere near the level of Kildare where they just don't turn up. Cork have turned up at every game. They just have made mistakes that have been costly. And I think for this game, I think Cork will bring a massive amount of fight, a massive amount of work rate and hustling. And I think they'll probably get the win. I think Meath, now that safety is assured, I think Meath might lax off a bit. And I think Cork will take advantage of that and get the win.
Yeah, I think actually Meath will go on and win this game. It's a hard trip for Cork to go up to Navan, and I just think I like the look of this Meath team. But then again, they could take their foot off the pedal. They could play second-rate players or whatever, because they're already in the Sam Maguire Cup as well, and they have Dublin to think about. Obviously, if they beat Longford, I think in Leinster, they play against Dublin and Park Hamilton, they'll be raving to that game. No doubts about it. They'll be, trying to get the battles out to beat up Dublin or whatever. I know Dublin will beat them in the end, but like Meath will be ready for them. So yeah, but it will be a difficult one to call. I'm going to go for Meath win slightly, but Cork to put up a decent enough performance. And moving on to the next game, it is a promotion 4-pointer, the last game of Division 2 this weekend. And Saturday at 5 p.m. it is Armagh against Cavan in the Athletic Grounds on Saturday, as I mentioned there. Kind of surprised again, and this is the discussion with Cavan. It was low last year, it's Cavan this year. Why is this game not even shown? Because, like, when you look at it, if Cavan win this game, it's going to be massive in the promotion race. But it's going to be a tight one to call, despite Armagh performing well in Division 2 so far.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tight one because Cavan, this is why we were saying this, that the winners of the Meath and Cavan draw were Armagh and Donegal, because that took the pressure off both of those counties at the same time, because it stunted Cavan and Meath, who were the chasing pack to the two of them. Cavan, look, this is a potential ticket that could upset it all. If Cavan win this game, they're on the same points as Armagh, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean, game ball there. Like, if they manage to upset the odds here, Armagh at home, they won't make it They won't make it easy for themselves. Sorry, Armagh are cut from a similar cloth to Mayo, as in they can up their level, but then they can also drop their level and take their eye off the ball. We saw that in the opening game against Louth, the game that they should have won. It's definitely a game that they'd be expected to win, and they made it incredibly difficult for themselves. And I could see a similar situation happening here. I am picking Armagh to win this because I do feel like they're destined to go up. But if I was a betting man, I'd be throwing a cheeky fiver down on Cavan to take this. I really do. I think Cavan, particularly with the Ulster rivalry and particularly with everything that the counties know each other inside out up in Ulster, Cavan might be Cavan probably will be very confident that they can go to Athletic Grounds and beat Armagh, because they know how much pressure Armagh are under. And what a good case study of that is the Dublin team of the 2000s. When you have a lot of pressure on you to deliver, everything is either amazing or terrible. When you have a lot of pressure on you to deliver, Mayo is another good example. They're either going to the moon or it's falling apart. And that tends to be the way that these things go. Armagh are the same. They barely hung on to Kieran McGeeney. And one of the conditions that he stays is you have to get promoted out of Division 2. And if Cavan start getting, a couple of points ahead of Armagh heading into the final few minutes, I could see Armagh panicking and making bad mistakes, and I could see Cavan winning by a couple of points. I genuinely could see a world in which that happens, but at the same time, I do think Armagh are better this year than they were last year. They've, rooted out the likes of Oisin Conati, Cian McConville, and they've really improved their team. And then Reno O'Neill coming back in and everything. Like, they're a polished side, and I think they're going to beat Cavan and go up.
Yeah, we'll go for an Armagh win as well. So we'll call Seamus' predictions because we've one different prediction, obviously, being in Cork. So you're predicting Seamus, it'll be Armagh on 11 points, Donegal on 11 points, Cavan on 7, Meath on 6, Cork on 6, Louth on 4, Fermanagh on 3, and Kildare rooted to the bottom and going to Division 3. So according to your predictions, Armagh and Donegal will be up this weekend, Kildare will be already down, and it's still a fight to the final day to see who goes down between Fermanagh and Louth. By your predictions, Cork will be safe too. So do you think that's the way it'll play out?
Yeah, I do think so. I think Kildare will go. I think Fermanagh will go with them. I think everybody else would be safe. But I think particularly Cork will breathe a huge sigh of relief. Because, as you said, you were very nervous after the first couple of games, and the Fermanagh game, they were a hair's breadth away from losing that one too. And if they'd lost that one, we could be talking about a very different outlook on the table.
Definitely so. And we'll move on to Division 3 now. And this is a promotion playoff without a doubt. And great to see actually this game is live on the TG4 Player and app. And it is Westmeath against Down. I don't think I've ever seen a game, not a final, that is in Division 3 that's actually been televised. So well done to TG4 there. It is Westmeath against Down in Cusack Park in Mullingar at 3 p.m. on Sunday. This is one of the games on Patrick's Day. Down are 10 points, Westmeath are on 10 points. Safe to say, Seamus, the winner of this is going to Division 2.
Yeah, they're both going to Division 2. I think that they'll know fine well that they're going to play against each other in the league final. So it'll be interesting to see who goes for this, if either of them go for it. I probably would say Down will go for a little bit more. And as for TG4, it's fantastic to see it being shown live. You would imagine that you would imagine that they looked at it and thought, well, that's the game to show. I mean, it really is. It's the two teams that have been flawless in Division 3 so far. They literally haven't put a foot wrong, either of them. Westmeath came the closest to doing that against Clare. They really, really left themselves a mountain to climb, but they climbed it. And they got the win. And this is going to be their toughest test for both counties coming up against each other. It's coming up against the only other camp that's been flawless so far. And meeting up at the time that they did is setting up for a few people to keep close tabs on this game. I probably would lean to Down. Down are clicking under Conor Laverty, no question about it. I know Westmeath are in great form as well. New players into the side like Senan Forker and all, Senan Baker, making a big impact, making a big name for himself. But I probably would lean towards Down to take it.
Yeah, I'll go for Down slightly as well, but Westmeath should be very, very tough opponents. There's no doubt about that. From two teams with 100% winning records to two teams with 100% losing records. It is Wicklow against Limerick on Saturday at 3 p.m. And you said both Westmeath and Down are going up. Regardless of what happens this weekend, and this weekend's a crucial game for both sides, do you think both sides are going down regardless of the result here?
Yeah, I think so. I think that when you see how comfortably Offaly won their game, that Offaly got off the mark and really got off the mark. It was against Wicklow, wasn't it?
It's Wicklow, yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely smashed them. I just remember seeing the score and seeing 5 goals, and I was like, lads, come on, you can't be letting them beat you like that. I do think Wicklow are definitely going down. I think Limerick have shown a little bit more fight. They definitely put it up to Westmeath. And there again, they really made Westmeath work for it. So, do you know what? I'm going for a draw. Genuinely, I'm going for a draw. I think both sides have shown little, and they've had bad beatings. I think in a perfectly frustrating way, they'll hold each other to a draw.
And judging by that prediction, Seamus, that could send both teams down, because I wasn't going to go to this game next, but I am now, seeing as you mentioned the draw. It is Sligo against Offaly in Markovich Park. It's on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. So the situation with this, if Offaly beat Sligo here, then, and according to your prediction with Wicklow and Limerick, and for the record, I actually think Limerick will go on and win that game. But you're saying a draw. If Offaly win this game, according to your predictions, Wicklow and Limerick are down by this weekend. Do you think Offaly will win
it? Honestly, no. I think Sligo take this one. Markovich Park, Sligo have been playing really well. They picked up some great wins, obviously under McEntee. They're looking the other way. They're looking towards being an outside shot for promotion. I feel like their loss against Clare was one that they really feel like they let slip by them. They got a tough run in, no question about it. After the Offaly game, I think they still have Westmeath down to face, isn't it? So
they play it down already, so they're playing Westmeath, I think, in the next. Yeah.
Westmeath, yeah, but that's a game that will be extremely, extremely difficult to win. Apart from that, they've been great. I think they'll be good enough to beat Offaly at home. Even though Offaly had a real champagne victory over Wicklow where they hit the 5 goals, you're not going to hit 5 goals against Sligo. And I think Sligo might pip them by a point or two.
Yeah, I'd probably go for Sligo to win that game as well. So Wicklow and Limerick both live to stay up another day, according to both of our predictions. And we move on to the last one in Ennis. It is Clare against Antrim on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Look at both sides form at the moment. Clare are kind of going under the radar small, but Antrim have slipped off a cliff, really. You have to imagine Clare will win this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely going for Clare, and I've been very impressed with how they've rebounded from the 11 players gone. I mean, we've been through this, the Owen Clearys, the Jamie Malones, the Keelan Sextons, like that's the absolute heartbeat of their team for the last 2 years that was ripped away. The way Mark Fitzgerald has, called up the conscripts, if you like. They've really, really pulled everybody in that they can get their hands on, and Aaron Griffin, Emmett McMahon, they've really stepped up and been key leaders at key times for the team. And they've had some big impressive victories. They nearly caught Westmeath as well. They gave themselves a great position to do that, but Westmeath pulled them back. I think they've shown a hell of a lot more than Antrim have in the last 2 weeks. Antrim started great, but have, as you said, fallen a lot since then. So, yeah, I do think Clare will beat them.
Yeah, and judged by, I think Clare will win that game for the record as well. So, judged by our predictions, it is Down on 12 points, Westmeath on 10, Clare on 10, Sligo on 8, Antrim on 4, Offaly on 2, and according to your prediction, Seamus, Limerick and Wicklow, both sides will be on a point. So, you're predicting straight up that Down and Westmeath will go up and Limerick and Wicklow will go down. Just wanted to ask you one more team before moving on to Division 4. That decision between Westmeath and Clare and Mullingar a few weeks ago with the square ball incident or whatever it was, crucial now.
It is crucial, especially if, it does come down to the wire, after the next 2 rounds of fixtures. If it comes down to that square ball was the difference between Clare going up, between Westmeath going up, you'd be damn sure that we'll be talking about that square ball again. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll get swept under the rug. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe. We'll move on to Division 4, and it's so unique, this division, actually. Between 2nd and 4th, all them teams are on 6 points. So it's an incredible division in its own right. You'd have to imagine Laois are up, and we're coincidentally moving on to Laois first. They're up against Leitrim in O'Moore Park on Saturday at 4:15 p.m. Laois only need a point to go up, but Leitrim badly need a win here. 2 losses in a row for them. They'll be aiming to get out of a slump, but look at Laois's form. They'll expect to seal promotion this weekend.
Yeah, no, Laois, like what we've been talking about is like Laois are that team in Division 4. Every division so far in the league has had that team. Derry were that team for Division 1. Donegal and Armagh have been that team for Division 2. Westmeath and Down have been that team for Division 3. And for Division 4, Laois have been that team. They've been absolutely brilliant. 100% record. And they've won games in every type of way that you can. They've smashed teams to bits. They've won with the last minute winners. Paul Kingston's free against Tipperary, for example, like a last minute winner. They've done it all. And I think they're going to beat Leitrim as well, especially at home. I don't think Leitrim can stop them there. And it's tough on Leitrim as well because they're in the position where they're one of the teams on 6 points and they're not going higher than 6 points, especially not this week.
Yeah, exactly. So, and speaking of the teams on 6 points, there's a clash between two sides tied on 6 points. Longford against Carlow in Longford at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Like, Carlow had a tough defeat the last day against Wexford. Longford, good win, a good winning run for them in general. Like, I fancy Longford for this one. I don't know about you, Seamus.
Yeah, I do fancy Longford, to be honest. Carlow, I really wasn't seeing it, the run of form end like that. Like, they really fell flat on their face against Wexford. It was genuinely like that. They were running towards a potential finish line. They just tripped up and fell. They really were flat against Wexford. And Longford have kind of started off the other way, where they started very slow, and now they're kind of catching up on teams like that. And that trip from Carlow, I don't know if they're going to get up in time. I think Longford have the players to beat them. They definitely have the players to beat them. It's whether, like, the O'Byrne Cup version of Longford shows up in this game versus the Longford that showed up in the first 2 rounds of the league, because it was the same thing last year. They were shocking at the start of the opening rounds of Division 3. So yeah, I think Longford will go up. I actually do think Longford will go up, by the way. I think Longford will go up with Laois, as I predicted at the start, but I think Laois will top and Longford will second. I predicted to be the other way. But yeah, Longford for me, I think there will be... I think Longford will beat Carlow and they'll go up.
Yeah, exactly. And I predict the same. Tipperary against Wexford on Saturday at 6 p.m. Wexford are another team at 6 points. Tipperary not out of the equation yet. They're on 4 points, but given their performances against London and Waterford in particular, drawing them 2 games, surprisingly, it looks like they're out of the race, really out of this. But Wexford, good win against Carlow last time. You'd expect them to keep the run going.
Yeah, I expect kind of Wexford to keep the results going, but at the same time, Tipperary sometimes turn up. It's really, really difficult to know kind of what they're coming with. Like, Tipperary got caught by Waterford. Like, Waterford got the draw against them. Like, so it's difficult to know what version is going to turn up, because then they also push Laois to the pin of their collars, and Laois are the team that are running away with the division. I do think that Wexford will keep the form going, but Wexford are very weird as well. Wexford are so strange. They're so hard to predict what version of them is going to turn up. I'm going to say that Wexford win this one. But again, I'm not confident, because both of these teams are weird teams to analyse and to predict what version is going to turn up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go for Wexford win there. And the last game, London against Waterford on Saturday at 1 p.m. Both sides looking for their first victory of the league campaign. Who do you think will get it as a matter of interest? It doesn't mean much at this stage, but maybe for morale for these two sides?
Given that it's in London, I probably would say London will take it. London have always been a difficult team to play against. Waterford showed great fight getting that draw against Tipperary. Part of me just feels like the fact that it's in London has been a tricky place for teams that have beaten Waterford to go. And yeah, I think London will probably take Waterford.
Yeah, I'm going to go for... Actually, I'm going to go for Waterford win in that one. I think Waterford were very unlucky the last day against Tipperary, so I'm going to go for a Waterford win there. So according to our predictions there, Longford will be on 8 points. So will Wexford. Laois will be over the hills and far away. So you would expect Longford and Wexford to go to full-on battle for the last spot of promotion in Division 4, and we're both going for Longford to get it. So we'll move on to the hurling now, because we're over an hour into it. So we'll move on to hurling, and it is Wexford against Cork in Wexford Park on Saturday at 3 p.m. In Wexford Park, Wexford look really good at the moment, and I mentioned in your podcast last time out, they look almost a different team from last year. Keane Burns come into the team, scored 5 points for play against Waterford. Charlie McGuckin's a good player, obviously. Lee Chin was injured the last day. Wexford still won. Seamus Casey was outstanding. Corey Byrne Dunbar. Cork had a very good result against Offaly too. But like, for both of these sides, look at the semi-finals for the league and things like that. They'd be probably just outside that. But who do you think will take this one?
Very difficult to call, because Wexford, we were talking about this on my pod, we were talking about how Wexford have been moving great and got that great victory against Waterford. But Cork aren't in the position that Waterford are in. Cork are in a far better position in terms of morale around the camp, in terms of, their form as well. They're in way better form. 5 goals against Offaly, and they put Offaly away in a way that nobody else has done so far. Not Kilkenny, not Waterford, and crucially, not Wexford. Wexford drew with Offaly, and we're lucky to draw with Offaly as well. And while, yes, Rossiter has done great work with them, he steadied the ship a lot from where they were at, especially, they were nearly a Joe McDonagh Cup team. Cork are a different kettle of fish. I honestly think Wexford are going to find it quite hard to deal with Cork's pace. Cork's pace is absolutely frightening. Cork are, especially with Alan Connolly back in the side as well, man, Cork have an eye for goal. You saw that against Offaly. I think Cork are going to win this game. I genuinely do. I think their forward pace and their eye for goal with Connolly, I think, would be too much, especially with Wexford missing the likes of Lee Chin. I think Cork are in a better place than Waterford. I think that will show.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Cork win as well. But Wexford shouldn't be disheartened. They'll go into the Leinster Championship and they'll give it their all. And actually, if Cork do win this game, both sides will be confirmed for Division 1A next year, because Cork will well clear Dublin in 1B for fourth and all that. So it will be Wexford and Cork to join Clare, Kilkenny, Limerick, Galway and Tipperary in 1A next season. And I think that's a good group, to be fair, in the top division. Moving on to Waterford, as you mentioned, they're home to Kilkenny this weekend on Saturday at 3 p.m. Look at we talked about Davy Burke for Roscommon. Davy Fitz for Waterford is in nearly a worse place for interviews at the moment. It doesn't seem to be working any shape or form. Kilkenny lost the last day out against Clare. We're a bit too reliant on TJ Reid, but I think this should be a bit more easier for Kilkenny this weekend.
Yeah, look, Davy will have them riled up as they have ever been for this game, but no, I don't see a way that Kilkenny don't get the win here. I feel like not that the players aren't playing for Davy, but I just feel like they're not as inspired by him as he needs them to be. Because now, player for player, Waterford don't have as good players as Kilkenny have coming down. I don't think that they do. So you need them to have the fire in them to make up for that. And if Davy has, given it the big one, and then they've failed to beat Wexford and lost to Wexford at home, and then Kilkenny are coming down, who Waterford have always struggled to beat. I see nothing but a Kilkenny win here. And again, the third quarter, man, it's just been Waterford's Achilles heel in all of their games. I feel like if they have a bad quarter against Kilkenny, Kilkenny will put them to the sword. Like Adrian Mullen, Owen Cody, TJ, I think they just have the record and the ruthless streak to do incredible damage in a period where Waterford switch off. And I think Waterford will probably switch off again. You have to look at the history to predict the future. I don't see Waterford not switching off for a period of the game. And I think that period Kilkenny will do enough damage to beat them.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Kilkenny win as well. Just as a matter of interest for Waterford fans, they are already relegated because they're 2 points off Cork. They can't overtake Cork because of the head-to-head rule. So they're in 1B next year with the likes of, I'm reading this, Dublin, Offaly, Westmeath, Antrim, and the 2 teams from 2A. So not really good company for Waterford. And they need major surgery for the next few seasons. Offaly against Clare and Tullamore on Saturday at 3 p.m. You would expect a Clare win here. I know Offaly done well in the last few weeks, but they maybe have tuckered out after the Cork game. That was an almighty hammering.
Yeah, no, it reminds me a lot of when Antrim came up in 2021 and they went absolutely gung-ho for the first 2 games to try and make a statement. And then they got absolutely battered in the last few games of the league because they pick up injuries, you run out of momentum, you run out of steam. You give everything you have and you get 1 win out of 2 games. No, 1 win out of 3 games, sorry. And it's hard to keep that same level up when you start meeting the same standard of team week in, week out that are all bringing their own sets of difficult players to prepare for. So you go from preparing for Tony Kelly and Aidan McCarthy 1 week to preparing for Lee Chin and Conor McDonald the next week to preparing for Owen Cody, Adrian Mullen and TJ the next week. they found it too hard. And I feel like Offaly have been like that too. That look, the first game against Waterford passed them by, but then they drew with Kilkenny and drew with Wexford. They put everything they had into it, and they put everything they had into the Kilkenny game, still lost, and then they got battered by Cork. I don't see anything but an easy Clare victory here, because Clare have been flying it, to be honest. I think if you're to tell Lohan the league that they've had so far, and then also to say to him, oh, and by the way, this is without Tony Kelly, it's without Shane O'Donnell, it's without Ryan Taylor. You still have quality players like Dave McInerney and everything to come solidly back into playing time. I think he'd be delighted.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Clare win as well. And it does confirm with our predictions that Clare and Kilkenny will be in the semi-finals of the league. Who will they play? We'll have to see in our predictions for Division 1B. We'll start off with Limerick against Galway. And this game, don't be fooled by the fixture. It was supposed to be in the Gaelic grounds, not ready yet. So it may move to Pearse Stadium in Galway for 1:15 live on RT2. That's a double header with the Galway Dublin football game. And another bit double header. Double header.
They exist. Oh my goodness. Do they exist outside Croke Park?
They clearly do this weekend, and we are going for double header this
That's because of
weekend.
Patrick's Day. 100% that's because of Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
This would be on Sunday if it were.
Oh, definitely. But it is a double header this weekend. Thank God for that. And word on the Limerick Hurlers as well. I did a piece on the Limerick Voice, which is out today, the newspaper version. It comes with the Limerick Leader today on Wednesday. For UL journalism students, I did a piece on the Limerick Hurlers and the drive for 5 this year, the potential drive for 5. Me and Seamus think they'll do it, but will they do it? It remains to be seen. I spoke to TJ Ryan about that. That's available on the Limerick Leader, or the Limerick Voice, should I say, right now in all good shops around Limerick County and online, I'd imagine, in the next few weeks as well. But Limerick against Galway, Limerick showed their form against Tip the last day. Despite conceding 3 goals, they were absolutely outstanding. 71% shot accuracy in the second half. All their subs scored when coming onto the pitch. Galway, good win against Dublin last time out, but it's going to be a big test for Henry Shefflin's side, despite being at home in this one.
Yeah, and like the reality is the game against Tipperary, it was a signature Limerick victory. It was come of the hour, come of the men. Like they stood up when they needed to, and like again, it was just a case of when the game was there to be won, Limerick stood up and took it. And Galway have experienced that firsthand as well against Limerick over the last couple of seasons in the All-Ireland semi-finals, that those 2 games have been in periods where Galway have been putting it right up to Limerick. And then when the game was there to be won, Limerick pulled away. I mean, you remember David Reedy coming off the bench 2 years ago. You remember Limerick's awesome second half display in last year's All-Ireland semi-final. These games are absolutely epic between these 2 sides. Galway, now that they have home advantage, I will be interested to see how Henry attacks this game. Dahi Burke and Conor Whelan both gone is crippling to them. Like, that's their best forward and their best defender, in my opinion, ruled out for this game. They still have the likes of Evan Nilan. They still have the likes of Conor Cooney, who was electric against Dublin. But yeah, I see nothing but a Limerick win. When you see the form that Limerick are in, when you see what they did to Dublin, how easily they beat Dublin. And then Galway did have difficulties with Dublin at stages, even though it was at home. I think Galway are in for a defeat against Limerick in Pearse Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Limerick win as well. We'll move on to the next game, and it is Antrim against Tipperary in Cargill Park at 3 p.m. This game is also live. It's not on the banner here, but it is live on the BBC iPlayer and GA Go. This one, so great that they show a bit of hurling here. But Antrim, defeat to Westmeath last time out. Their confidence is gone all over the floor. And Tipperary, like, it was a tough defeat to take against Limerick, but then again, it was only a point between the teams, and Limerick were absolutely outstanding in that second half. So still a few positives to take for a Tipperary point of view. So, but you would have to expect the Premier to absolutely smash Antrim here, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes. I do think that Antrim are showing signs that they're really slipping now. A lot of the progress that was made in the last few years under Gleeson is rapidly falling away. And the GA need to step up and help them, to be honest. It's falling away quickly, and the GA could really do with a strong Antrim, with an Antrim that competes for All Irelands, because it would just make the game so much more entertaining, and it would engage Ulster a lot more in the game of hurling. It's something that's massively important, but then like the situation that we are, the here and now, I expect nothing but a Tipperary win. Look, the game against Limerick that's what they've been dealing with for the last few years, losing to Limerick. And they've had way more devastating defeats to Limerick than the one in the league game. Like, remember the Munster final in 2019, they bounced back to win the All Ireland. The Munster final in 2021, that was, horrific. The second half performance that they were on the end of from Limerick, that was one of the best halves that Limerick have ever played. So this game, I expect Tip to win this. I think in a similar way, sadly, that Galway won. In a similar way. I don't think it will be a Dublin-style situation where they'll get pushed to the pin of their collars. I think Tip will win, probably by about 10 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Tip victory there as well. And Dublin against Westmeath is 3 p.m. on Saturday. Considering we predicted Cork to win the other game, this is probably a nothing game in many facets, really. Both sides will be in 1B next year by the looks of things. Even by looking at Dublin's scoring difference at the moment is minus 36. So will they catch Cork's record with 2 points on the board? Probably not. So look, it's a weird one to go into, really, isn't it, Seamus, from a Dublin fan's point of view. You would expect them to beat Westmeath, but bit of a nothing game.
Look, like it's always an opportunity to get more minutes into lads now, because Dublin are bringing through a new generation. They're bringing through, like, Mark Rogan and players like that are still very new to the inter-county setup. And then you've got players that are completely new to the inter-county setup, like your Diarmuid O'Doolings and people like that who, are getting their first run outs at inter-county hurling level this year. So it's a big opportunity for them to get some minutes into them at Parnell Park against Westmeath. And Westmeath have been playing well. This is definitely not a game that Dublin are guaranteed to just turn up and win. Westmeath have been performing very well. Joe Fortune has been getting a tune out of them. They've gone toe-to-toe with Limerick. They've gone toe-to-toe with, I think it was Tipperary, and only been finished off by those two sides in the last 10 minutes. Dublin were finished off way before the last 10 minutes against Limerick. So if Dublin don't turn up 10 out of 10, there is a world where Westmeath beat them in Parnell Park. I do think Dublin will win. I do think Dublin will win by about 2 or 3 points. I don't think it's going to be an easy win by any stretch of the imagination for Dublin. I think they will win, but Westmeath definitely can push them close.
Yeah, definitely. So I predict Dublin winning that. And according to our predictions, the semi-finals of Division 1 will be between Clare against Tipperary and Limerick v Kilkenny. Early predictions there. Who do you think will get to the league final?
Limerick and Clare.
Tasty.
Of course.
Tasty. Yeah. Brilliant appetizer before the Munster Championship. I'd say the fans will love it. But we'll move on to Division 2A now. And it is a game to start off. Kildare and Carlow. It is an intriguing game nonetheless. But this is on a Friday at 8 p.m. I was shocked to see this, but they go for Friday games now, Seamus. I'm not sure when the last time that was, but this is on at 8 p.m. on Friday in Division 2A in Kildare. Carlow are going well at the moment. They're sitting pretty at the top of the table, 4 wins from 4. Kildare won last weekend against Kerry, and they have 3 points on the board. They can't get second place now. They can't get in the top 2. It's Laois and Carlow that will be in the league final, and did very be in Division 1B next season. But a Friday night game, Seamus. Did you see the likes of this?
Yeah, I remember they did it once a couple of years ago, and they very quickly abandoned it. It's in Netwatch Cullen Park, though, isn't it?
I think Kildare. It's in Kildare, yeah.
But Kildare are playing their home games at Netwatch Cullen Park instead of Newbridge.
I don't think they are the hurling. I'll have to double check this now. Yeah, I don't think they are the hurling. I think they're playing somewhere completely different. I'll check now. Yeah, I have the venue here. It's Mongord Park in Hawkfield.
Okay. So I was just making sure, because what I was noticing there was Kildare also have, of course, the home football game against Donegal. So I was like, wow, they're really moving it to a Friday night to avoid a doubleheader. But anyway, evidently not. But Well, maybe actually, yes, but who knows? The reality is Kildare have been on a real upward trajectory in hurling over the last 2 years. They've been really, really making strides. You just got to look at, the strides that Naas have took. You got to look at the strides that Kildare took in the league, the hurling league, particularly over the last couple of years. But Carlow, I think, are even further ahead in that evolution, like winning the Joe McDonagh Cup, and the confidence that they're on and the form that they're in Division 2A is absolutely phenomenal. I think Carlow will keep that form going, and I think they'll beat Kildare.
Yeah, I think they'll beat Kildare as well. And we'll move on to the other two games quickly because it actually turns out that Carlow Laois are definitely promoted to Division 1B and will be in the league final, whereas Kildare, Down, Kerry and Meath will be in Division 2 next year, confirmed. We'll move on to the next two games quickly. So because of that, Laois against Kerry on Saturday at 2 p.m. and you have Down against Meath on Saturday at 2 p.m. You would expect probably 2 home victories here, Down and Laois, to win these games, would you?
Yeah, I'd be confident enough that I'd go with a Laois and Down victory. Down have like the likes of the Sands brothers, Laois, still Paddy Purcell and Darrell, and like some cracking players there. The Dunphys as well. Like Laois and Down, two sides, and Laois as well, obviously guaranteed promotion. I think they're gonna, coast to a victory in this, along with Down.
Yeah, I'm going to say Laois and Down to win those games as well. Before we end the preview and things like that, who are you predicting for Division 2A league final? I think there's a Division 2A league final anyway. Laois or Carlow to win it?
Very difficult to call because Laois in the last 2 years, in my head, have been better. They've put it up to the bigger teams more and obviously beaten Dublin. That victory has carried a lot in our memories. I probably would go for Carlow though. I think Carlow are in better form, and I think riding off the momentum that the John McDonagh Cup has brought, I think they'll probably take that one.
Yeah, I'll go for the same as well. Carlow to win that, and they're in the Leinster Championship this year. They could even stay up looking at entrance form as well. So that brings an end to the podcast on nearly 1.5 hours. So there you go with the hurling and the football. But I think this is the last weekend of hurling and football. All full list of fixture schedules. So thank God for that. Leave the video a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you to Capture Athletics for sponsoring today's show. Thank you to Seamus for coming on to the podcast today. And until the next time, lads, we'll see you then and take care.